Now I come to this event really, to this little chapbook, Captive of Jerusalem, Song of Shulamite. What I said before about trying to find a home in a language if you don't have it geographically, about being torn from a place and pining for it, all of this finds really an echo in this book too, in most of my writings actually, because this is a basic thing. I called it If I Forget Thee, the program. If I forget thee, Jerusalem, O Jerusalem, let my right hand wither, let my tongue cleave to its palate. This is from the Psalms 137, verse 5. And this is what the exiles from Israel in Babylon were saying, because they wanted to come back to Jerusalem. This is a poem about love of Jerusalem, but the love of Jerusalem also mingles with the love of a man who died fighting and is buried in the hills of Judea. So it's kind of becoming one with Jerusalem. I would like to read to you, by the way, I wanted to say that that is really, there are two reviews there, and one said something, she thinks something autobiographical. I mean, they all say this thing autobiographical. Everything one does in a way is autobiographical because it comes from our mind. But to take the facts or the story verbatim, as it is, like, I mean, one man once called me after reading my story if I divorced. Well, the protagonists, they're divorced. So I mean that there should be a demarcation mark. I read to you parts from the book, and because it is one narrative poem that has also a certain story, and it's too long to read everything, of course, don't be afraid. I just read parts that maybe will make some sense and have some coherence. I'll start with the prologue. I come from a summer country where days hot, dry, and slow dying plod like camels' caravans in desert sands. In their humps a hidden future, chains of bells around their necks. In some prehistoric cave of my being, the metallic echoes persist. I come from a country of ancient sorrows, where merciless sun is remolding a nation, melting crowds in sultry streets. The scarcity of water can be matched only with that of peace. And the weary soldier in dusty khaki is perpetual reminder that this isn't just a borderline case, but a question of life and death. I come from a country pregnant with hope and dreams, juicy one, sweet and heavy as those watermelons wheeled to a sheltered shade where they lie round and green, bursting with expectation. At the height of my palate the taste lingers. Back and forth I go to Jerusalem to look once again for traces of a youth buried in the hills. They say the nights in Canaan are beautiful, yet how can one bear that awesome beauty alone? I was raised on the pine trees raising in the mountains of Judea, but all the pine needles of Jerusalem fail to sew up the pieces of my torn love. From time to time, tear cones are falling down to kindle the bonfire of a poem. Perhaps in many years, words and pain will crystallize into golden amber. O my love, thou art in the clefts of the rock. If I forget thee, I carry you with me wherever I may be, as one carries soil from the Holy Land. I come from a summer country where the sun is a lion roaring, its curls a billowing fire. There is always some terrible danger lurking in clouds of smoke, and always this hard, unbending glove. I come from a country that never lets you go. Now I'm going to skip some chapters. The day you died, I celebrate as if it were a birthday, for you continue growing after death. Your persistent missing goes on hissing in my ears, disturbing like lost notes of a familiar song. Over the years I've become used to it, as if conceding a malignancy of sorts. For even the greatest sorrow tends to turn into a kind of habit, an irremovable coat. How you proceed getting larger and larger, no way anyone anymore to restore your true dimensions, because you took them when you left. Do you know that tulips too keep growing even when cut and in the vase? One must shorten the stem every now and then to prevent them from toppling and breaking their neck. Summer after summer in Jerusalem, I attempt to collect and recollect remnants of memories, enact and reenact instances of our love, and sometimes as I become alive again through reliving, I succeed to kill your death. Again, I was beguiled by Jerusalem market, led in narrow, crooked streets, through arched openings with their ever-frowning brows. Again, I was captivated by ivory smiles, drowned in spices and incense, daggered by hundreds of eyes. Again, I was shot by accidental camera, forced to partake in some strange life, a mere piece of its intricate jigsaw puzzle. An old Arab on a low stool, sucking on a water pipe, people bargaining in a store, their fingers silently tell the story. Mezuzahs, Magen Davids, crosses on chains, Muslim beads to be counted in the secrecy of pocket, the Hebrew Bible, the Christian Bible, in silver cover, in olive wood. How much does it cost? How much will you pay? Israeli girls in short skirts, Arab peasant women in long embroidered dresses, Americans in funny hats, Arabs in kefirs, Jerusalem the old, Jerusalem the new. What is the price for this? How much will you pay? Once again, I was mistaken for a tourist, even by myself. I am but a lump of earth, a fleeting grain of dust, a fragment of your rib shaped temporarily in flesh, passing through the needle's eye of today before the stage is reset for evening's play. The part of me that died in you has now become the part of you that lives on in me. Changing roles behind the scene, that too is also life's producer. You are, my love, like Jerusalem, a many-splendored city, one in many, many in one. Shalom, Jerus, Zion, Tower of David, Ariel, Jerusalem, Elia Capitolina. Million cities, one for each prayer, silent, spoken, written on a scrap of paper to be folded and stuck in the western wall. Its everlasting cement. If I forget thee, if I forget thee. Back and forth I come and go, forever getting closer, yet unable to reach this mysterious core, the drawing magnet, the source of consuming yearning never consumed. On summer nights teeming with longing in Jerusalem's stone-paved alleys, I sought you, but I could not find you. I called you, but you gave me no answer. Only the wind sighed and sighed until the valley of crucifixion started heaving as a living chest. Strolling in desert streets of summertime, strolling between battles lost and won, births and suicides, torn, dry thorns and burned out affairs, you and I, past midnight, after the chime, when the two hands upon the clock separate to tread alone each its own way. Newly quarreled, we engage in our private struggle to attain peace, you and I. A pair of owls, you mutter suddenly, winking at me mischievously, your smile lighting up 1,000 avenues on the magnificent landscape of your face. I keep looking for your lost smile, picking up flickers of smiles. I am like scattered matches from strange lips all over. I go on gathering threads of scattered memories as the poor who walk the shaded fields after harvest in search of forgotten sheaves. Allah, Allah, Allah. One may hear Muslims call from the Haram al-Sharif, the believed site of the Temple Mount. Just excuse me. There, between the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, a small gathering is kneeling in prayer, forehead touching the ground. Quran phrases fly in the air, zooming and buzzing like hummingbirds. Ancient hymns carried from a distant procession seem to echo the call of early crusaders, Deus Volt, Deus Volt. And in the Via Dolorosa, pilgrims following in the steps of Christ stop for a second at one of the stations, then move on in search of souvenir or coffee house. A flock of nuns dressed in black habits rushes in a flurry, ethereal as if they were ghosts of forgotten Latin phrases. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Jews cry at the western wall. I spot a couple of girls sticking messages in cracks between stones of the western wall. This wall acts as God's answering machine, comments a passerby to his companion. After all, have you ever heard a person reaching by phone? No, his secretary, adds the companion, and the two walk on, laughing in their tight jeans. Oh, the things I have never asked you. Like Jerusalem, I am sealed with stones, full of unanswered questions. Stones that cling together to cover any gap, always conspiring to have the spirit committed. Stones that know how to touch on the raw and keep quiet. Again I was cornered by cobbled streets, scratched and bruised, pushed and shoved. Again I was drummed on by the hard facts of rocks and stones and dry bones and the endless